had never felt more thrilled or nervous than I did that humid evening at MetLife Stadium. It was mid-July in East Rutherford, New Jersey, and the heat radiating off the asphalt parking lot felt like a welcome hug compared to the tension I carried inside. After all, this was my first time seeing Taylor Swift in person. I'd saved money for months, snagged a ticket at the last minute, and driven 2 hours through traffic-clogged highways. The stadium towers rose against a dusky pink sky, and around me, fans sparkled in sequins, flower crowns, and heart-shaped sunglasses, all buzzing with excitement. My friend, Kayla, was supposed to meet me before the gates opened. She'd hit a delay, some issue at work, so I ended up going inside alone. I found my seat in the lower bowl off to the stage's right side. Not a bad view. The sun had dipped low, and golden light sliced across the stands. Below, the floor seats swarmed with people chatting, laughing, and taking selfies. Vendors moved through the aisles, selling popcorn and neon-lit bracelets. My heart fluttered each time I looked toward the stage, draped in curtains and rigging, waiting to burst into life. I tried to relax, sipping a soda, scrolling through my phone, and keeping an eye out for Kayla. She texted, stuck at security line. Sorry. Enjoy the opener. I responded with a thumbs up, though disappointment gnawed at me. Going solo wasn't the plan, but I told myself it would be fine. Around me, clusters of friends and families looked so happy. I envied them a bit. Then I noticed him. About 4 rows ahead, slightly to my left, stood a man wearing a sequin jacket. It shimmered pink and gold in the stadium lights. At a Taylor Swift concert, plenty of people dress flashy, but something about his stillness drew my attention. He wasn't chatting with anyone, not even on his phone. He just stood there, hands at his sides, eyes fixed on the stage that was still empty. While everyone else laughed and squealed, he remained silent and rigid. I watched him for a minute, curious. Maybe he was just shy or overwhelmed. But when he slowly tilted his head and seemed to scan the crowd, I felt a prickle of unease. For a split second, his eyes locked with mine. I expected a polite nod or smile. This was a joyful place, after all. Instead, he held my gaze too long, expressionless. I looked away, pretending I was just checking the time. When I glanced back, he turned again, facing forward. Still, my pulse danced a bit faster. The opener took the stage, and the stadium roared with applause. I tried to lose myself in the music, bobbing my head and cheering when appropriate. Yet I kept half an eye on the man. He never applauded, never sang along. He just watched, arms stiff. Occasionally, I thought I saw him mutter something under his breath, but with thousands of fans screaming, who could be sure? Kayla texted, "This line is insane. I'm missing everything." I tried to reassure her, but my attention drifted back to the man. Another fan, a girl in a lavender dress, tapped his shoulder, probably asking if he'd sit so she could see. He responded by edging sideways without a word. She gave him a weird look and returned to her spot. As the opener finished, lights dimmed. People rushed back from concessions. I lost sight of the man briefly as everyone stood for the main event. When Taylor Swift finally emerged, the stadium erupted into sound and color. I screamed along, forgetting my worries for a few glorious minutes. The stage flooded with pastel lights, dancers twirled, and Taylor's voice soared, uniting thousands of strangers in a collective dream. But during a quieter ballad, I remembered the man. Peering around a tall fan in front of me, I saw him still in place, but now he gripped something small in his hand. At first, I thought it was merch, maybe a photo card. But as I squinted, it looked more like a snapshot. A Polaroid, maybe? He held it close to his face, then slipped it into his jacket pocket. My stomach fluttered with dread. Who brings a random photo to a concert and studies it like that? Midway through the set, colorful wristbands lit the crowd. People danced, waved their arms. I tried to relax and enjoy the show. This might be my only chance to see Taylor live. But every time I let my guard down, I sensed that man. At one point, he was gone. Relief washed over me. Maybe he left early or moved to a different seat. 2 songs later, I felt a presence behind me. The hair on my neck stood up before I even turned. Sure enough, there he was, just one row behind now, edging into an empty seat that belonged to someone who must have gone for drinks. The aisle lights reflected off his sequin jacket, casting odd patterns on the concrete floor. My heart hammered. He leaned forward and whispered, voice barely audible over the music, "We'll see her up close after this." I froze. Did he mean Taylor? Was he fantasizing about rushing the stage? Or someone else? I turned and hissed, "Back off," but he just smirked. My voice was lost in the music anyway. Fear surged through me. I slipped into the aisle, pushing past excited fans. I found an usher, breathless, and explained, "There's a guy acting really creepy, whispering strange things." She frowned, took my description, and said she'd grab security. We returned to my section, but he had vanished again. Security shrugged, apologetic, promising to keep an eye out. I felt no safer. During the final encore, I barely concentrated. I kept scanning the stands, paranoid he'd appear by my side. Kayla finally texted that she gave up and was waiting by the car. I left early, before the last notes faded, joining streams of fans exiting the stadium. Outside, I hurried, blending into crowds. The night air felt cooler, a relief against my clammy skin. Near the parking lot's edge, I glimpsed him again, a flash of sequins under a dim floodlight. He leaned against a railing, staring at me from afar. This time, I didn't linger. I rushed to Kayla's car. He didn't follow, but I felt his eyes, that eerie smirk, burned into my mind. Kayla, clueless about my ordeal, just complained about missing the show. I couldn't bring myself to explain fully. Even now, thinking back, I wonder what his plan was. Maybe just to frighten me, or to find someone vulnerable. That magical night turned sour, leaving me wary. Every time I hear a live version of a Taylor Swift track, I recall his stiff posture, the whispered words. Danger, I realized, can lurk even in the happiest gatherings. 2. The vanishing girl in the concourse. This happened on a crisp night at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California. Taylor Swift's tour had rolled into the Bay Area, and I was determined to buy merch early, before lines got crazy. I arrived well before the opener, weaving through a maze of fans who wore everything from cowboy boots to sequin dresses. The concourse shimmered under overhead lights, the scent of pretzels and cotton candy filling the air. I joined a long line at the merch stand featuring exclusive posters and a limited edition vinyl. It moved slowly, but the mood was cheerful. Nearby, a girl about my age stood alone, examining hoodies. She wore a pale blue sundress and sequin sneakers, tapping her foot nervously. Her eyes darted around, not just casually, but anxiously. I brushed it off. Maybe she was waiting for a friend. I got closer to my turn in line, trying to decide between a tour t-shirt or the vinyl. Then I saw her again. She'd moved closer, now hovering near a concession stand. She kept glancing over her shoulder, and following her line of sight, I spotted a tall man lurking behind a pillar. He wore a black windbreaker and a baseball cap pulled low. He seemed too intent, eyes following her every move. A spike of concern. Was he just another fan waiting? Or was something off? The girl looked over at me once, and for a moment, her eyes pleaded silently. Or maybe I imagined it. The stadium was loud. Fans chattering, staff shouting orders. I got my vinyl, paid quickly, and stepped aside to see if she needed help. Suddenly, she vanished into a knot of people heading toward the main seating area. The tall man followed at a distance. Alarmed, I hesitated. I was just another fan, no authority. Should I intervene? I rationalized. Maybe they were together, maybe just lost. But that uneasy feeling nagged at me. I decided to find stadium security. Easier said than done in a crowd. Eventually, I flagged down an usher. I explained, I saw a girl who looked scared, and a man might be following her. The usher took it seriously. She asked for descriptions, then radioed someone. We walked around the concourse. Time passed. A performance would start soon. People rushed to their seats. We circled back to where I'd last seen the girl. No sign of her or the man. The usher told me, "We'll keep watch. If you see them again, find a staff member." She moved on to help someone else. I felt helpless. Maybe the girl found her friend and was safe now. Maybe the man left. Yet an uneasy dread settled in my stomach. I decided to do one more loop before heading to my own seat. As I walked near the restrooms, I glimpsed her again. She stood by a concrete wall, arms folded protectively. Her eyes were red, as if she'd been crying. I mustered courage and stepped close, saying, "Hey, are you okay? Need help?" She flinched, startled. For a moment, relief flickered over her face. My friend is late," she said, voice low. I wasn't convinced. Her gaze darted behind me, and I turned. Sure enough, the tall man hovered near a trash bin, pretending to check his phone. She whispered, "He's following me." My heart pounded. "Let's find security," I said. She nodded, tears welling. I turned to wave down a guard a few yards away. Took me seconds, literally 2 or 3, to attract his attention. When I turned back, she was gone. Not just stepped away. Gone as if snatched by invisible hands. I gasped, scanning the crowd. The tall man was gone too. I rushed to the guard, babbling about what happened. He and 2 others searched the immediate area. Nothing. How could she vanish that fast? The concourse, though crowded, wasn't chaotic. Still, no one around us noticed anything. I described her clothes, the sequined sneakers, the pale blue sundress, her frightened expression. The guards radioed out a description. I waited, nails biting into my palm. Minutes stretched. An announcement overhead indicated the opener was nearly done. The main show would start soon. They found no trace. No one matching her description had asked for help. No reports of a struggle. The guard tried to reassure me, saying sometimes people run off quickly when panicked. But where to? Stadium exits were controlled. I left my name and number with them, feeling hollow. The concert started. I found my seat, surrounded by laughter and singing. Taylor performed beautifully, each song sending waves of cheers. But I couldn't enjoy it fully. My mind kept replaying that girl's fearful eyes. I wondered if at that exact moment, she was trapped somewhere backstage or forced into a side corridor. Maybe the man lured her outside somehow. The possibilities horrified me. After the concert, I lingered in the concourse until most people left. I checked each corner, each closed merch stand, hoping absurdly she might reappear. All I found was a single sequined sneaker lying near a bench, partially crushed, as if stepped on by rushing feet. My heart sank. I handed it to a staff member, voice trembling. This might belong to her. He nodded grimly. They had no updates. Over the following weeks, I scoured news reports and fan forums. Nothing about a missing girl at Levi's Stadium. If she was reported missing, it didn't hit mainstream news. I tried contacting stadium security via email, but they replied vaguely, saying the matter was under investigation. I still think about that night. I replay every moment, wondering if I could have done more. Should I have grabbed her hand and dragged her to a guard? Called the police immediately? The guilt haunts me. Now, whenever I attend large events, I remain hyper-alert, scanning for people who look frightened or alone. That Taylor Swift concert, meant to be a joyful communal experience, turned into a memory of helplessness and fear. An unsettling reminder that even in a crowd of thousands, a vulnerable person can vanish without a trace. 3. The empty row after the encore, Nashville's Nissan Stadium buzzed with excitement. It was a perfect spring night, mild weather, a gentle breeze off the nearby river. I traveled from out of state to see Taylor Swift in her home turf. The city's energy was intoxicating. Honky-tonk bars downtown sang late into the night, and now the stadium thrummed with fans dressed in all manner of themed outfits. I wore a floral sundress, cowboy boots, and a denim jacket. I felt like I belonged. My friends and I had floor seats, not too close, but decent enough. We arrived early, sipped overpriced lemonade, and chatted with fans around us. Everyone was friendly. People complimented each other's outfits, shared stories about past tours. The anticipation was palpable. By the time the lights dimmed for the main act, we were on our feet, screaming along with thousands of voices. The show was everything I hoped for. Vibrant colors, dazzling stage effects, powerful vocals that made my heart swell. Halfway through, I noticed a group of 4 teenage girls a few rows ahead. They stood out because they were so enthusiastic, waving signs, laughing, hugging each time a favorite song started. One girl in particular had bright red hair and a sparkly headband. She danced with abandon, tossing confetti she pulled from her pocket. I smiled at her joy, thinking, this is what it's all about. As the concert neared its end, Taylor announced her encore songs. The crowd roared. Lights twinkled across the stadium like stars. I noticed the red-haired girl again, still front and center in her group, jumping and singing every lyric. Then suddenly she froze. I followed her gaze, which seemed fixed on the side aisle. The show's energy was high, so it was odd to see her stop mid-celebration. In the bright flashes of stage lights, I tried to spot what caught her attention. Couldn't see much, just ushers and fans milling about. Then the lights dimmed again for a dramatic effect, and in that brief darkness, I heard a muffled scream. Not loud enough to alarm everyone, but I picked it out because I wasn't screaming at that second. When the lights came back up, I scanned the girls' row. 3 of them were there, looking around confused. The red-haired girl was missing. My stomach did a little flip of worry. Maybe she ran to the restroom? But who leaves during the encore? Her friends looked puzzled, calling her name. Though I couldn't hear them over the music, I saw their lips move, their concern growing. As the final notes ended and Taylor thanked the crowd, fans began to leave. My friends and I stayed put, letting the crush subside. The 3 girls remained too clearly searching. I saw one pick up the missing girl's jacket from the seat. She shook her head, tears forming. Something was wrong. I told my friends, that girl vanished. Let's see if they need help. We approached cautiously. They looked at me with hopeful eyes. Did you see our friend? She was here a second ago, one asked. I explained I noticed her freeze. Then when lights went down, I heard a strange sound. They said she wouldn't leave without her jacket or saying something. She was excited about every single song. Anxious now, I caught the attention of a security guard passing by. He and his colleague listened to us, asked for a description. Red hair, sparkly headband, floral shorts, white sneakers. The guard spread out, checked under seats, behind the stage barricade, even asked other staff if anyone saw a girl wander off. Nothing. The crowd around thinned to scattered pockets of fans taking final photos. The girls were near tears, calling her phone repeatedly, straight to voicemail. I overheard a guard murmur to another, all exits are monitored. We would have seen something, another responded, unless, and then he cut himself off, noticing me listening. A crew member joined in and soon a small search party formed. They checked backstage corridors and locked areas, but no suspicious activity reported. The 3 friends looked devastated. One said, voice trembling, she would never just leave. We promised to stick together. The guards promised to review surveillance footage. I gave them my contact info, describing the muffled scream. The girls eventually had to leave, escorted out by staff. I lingered, feeling helpless and guilty that I couldn't provide more details. As I walked out, I noticed something near a maintenance door, a sparkly headband on the ground. It looked exactly like what she wore. I pointed it out to a staff member who picked it up carefully. Her expression turned grim. She thanked me softly, then disappeared behind a door. I stood there, heart heavy, while a janitor swept confetti and plastic cups from the empty rows. Moments ago, this place was alive with music and happiness. Now it felt hollow and unsafe. Over the next few days, I checked news outlets and fan forums. Rumors swirled. Maybe she was lured backstage by someone posing as crew. Maybe she'd stepped outside for air and got lost. Some speculated a stalker used the chaos to commit an abduction. But no official statements confirmed anything. If a missing persons report was filed, it didn't hit major headlines. Maybe authorities kept it quiet, or her parents wanted privacy. Whatever the reason, silence persisted. I still think about her sometimes. The red-haired girl who danced so freely, only to disappear in a flash of stage lights and screams. The helpless expression of her friends remains etched in my memory. If a place so full of love, unity, and shared excitement could harbor such darkness, then danger can truly find us anywhere. Now, when I attend concerts or large events, I stay wary. I keep track of exits, remain alert to odd behaviors. The memory of her empty seat, the headband on the floor, and the muffled scream in the darkness serve as a grim reminder that not even the happiest nights, filled with music and communal joy, are guaranteed safe.